Hi guys, welcome. Let's have a moment to talk about this Pisces New Moon, shall we, that's happening on the 13th of March, 2021. This one is about 4:30 a.m. Central Time. And so this new moon happens at 23 degrees Pisces. And as we know, Pisces is very watery, right? And this just happens. So when the sun and moon conjunct, which is of course what happens at every new moon, this time they happen to also be conjunct Venus in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. So we have a whole lot of Pisces energy. Pisces, of course, and Neptune are, the same energy. They are co-rulers of each one of themselves. And so as we have this deep, watery energy with Venus, the sun, Neptune, and the moon, we're kind of probably all feeling a little bit watery, a little bit blurry, a little bit out of focus. And that's kind of all right. That's how you're supposed to be feeling, right? So this is about sensual experience, right? Venus is all about your five senses, and Neptune is that higher octave, right? It's how you tune into the extra sensory, right? Your subconscious, your unconscious. So it is right now a real activation of our ability to reach beyond, right? That veil represented by Neptune, represented by Pisces. And this is about reaching beyond, both as yourself and as your feeling experience, right? These four bodies in Pisces, Mercury soon to be, this is really about kind of an activation of something like a portal for the deepest levels of your desires, right? That's really what this energy is all about. It's about grace and pleasure and fluidity. Venus is that foam born of the sea, and so these watery depths that we're dealing with call into question our values, our enjoyment, right? Our sensual experience of good things, right? Venus is about sophistication, elegance, refinement. Neptune, Pisces adds that level of visionary, right? Dreams, ideals, utopia, right? Art, artisticness, your intuition, your imagination, the depths, how you plumb those depths, and what you experience as you do those things. This is about your tidal self, right? The sun and moon conjunct in Pisces, your tidal self, the ability and skill with which you are able to experience that which is better felt than spoken, right? That is really the key, in my opinion, to Pisces and Neptune energy, because as soon as you think you have a handle on it or are able to express it in any sort of cohesive, cogent way, it dissolves, right? Into something else. It shifts, it morphs, it's elusive. Like those waves themselves. You can't catch a handful of water. You can't catch a handful of sand. You're simply in the act of cupping those things, right? You never really have a hold of them, which is beautiful, but elusive. And I think as Mercury tails into Pisces, it's going to be even harder to express ourselves. Well, hello. in this gauzy kind of veiled energy, right? Better felt than spoken. It's about that sensory experience and how sometimes we are challenged to put that into words. And I think another point that I'd like to make about this energy is that it's experienced within, right? But it's also experienced in relation to something else, right? You can experience your five senses, but it's always in relation to something else, right? What does it taste like to me? What does it sound like to me? What does it feel like to me? And the thing is, no matter what field you're talking about, there is that concept of relativity in all things, right? And as such, we have to remember that it's our perspective. And so sometimes that better felt than spoken is okay because it's simply meant to be digested within, right? It's meant to be part of your experience, and it doesn't necessarily have to be part of a shared experience, because it can be open to someone else's interpretation. I mean, consider artistic or visionary concepts. We try and render them in symbol, and we have to rely on the interpretation of the other person in order to gain that liminal and nebulous messaging that we ourselves intuited and then tried to process. And sometimes that's the best you can do, right? You try your best to create from your inner experience, and sometimes it works. Well, it always works, but sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it's inaccurate, and that's okay, right? All right, so we have the world and the devil, right? The devil is about attachments. The world is about cycles. So at a new moon in Pisces, right? Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. We are coming up on the Aries equinox, the astrological new year. What a perfect time to be in release of our attachments. Right? Following your heart, knowing what to hold on to, knowing what to let go of, knowing what the tides are going to sweep away, and knowing what will be left in newness upon the shore, and trusting, right? Trusting in alignment that that will be perfect. Absolutely perfect. We've got the Ace of Swords and the Three of Cups. New ideas. We have Mars and Gemini, and the Three of Cups is all about celebration and joy, right? Joy in community. So perhaps there are ways that being open and accepting, right, that newness of idea, that inspiration, because of course we know that every inspired idea from the divine must be grasped. It must be grasped with gratitude, and then it must be put into action, right? So trusting that whatever you're releasing in cycle, you have a replacement for, and it will be something joyous, something emotionally fulfilling, right? That tide takes things, that tide brings things in. Page of Pentacles, Two of Wands. I mean, earth energy, fire energy. This is beautiful as we have Pluto sextiling Chiron, I believe, right now. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to double check. Anyway, we've got Pluto in Capricorn, right? We've got Uranus in Taurus, and we have Chiron in Aries. We've got Mars in the North Node down there in Gemini, pulling all these things together, right? We've got plenty of fire and earth to keep us busy right now. Pages are about that newness of cycle, right? We have newness represented here both in the world, in what's coming, in the release of something. You make room for the new to come, right? So this is about new ways of being resourced, and we know that resource is about tangible or intangible, right? And the Two of Wands is about balancing between those choices, right? Witnessing what is in alignment and making that choice, knowing that neither choice is wrong, right? They just are simply choices. One might be higher, one is definitely going to take you in a different direction, but it's always going to be the right direction. You can't go wrong if you follow your heart, right? We know this. Justice and the Five of Swords. So the Five of Swords is about conflict. It's about Pyrrhic victory. It's about what you release and what you hold on to. Right? A Pyrrhic victory is a victory where you hold on so long that no one wins, because what is won is ruined. It's destroyed in the process. No one wins, right? It's that scorched earth policy whereby there's nothing left once the victory, and I'm air quoting there, is had. And we have justice. Sometimes justice means just allowing the release. Look at that butterfly, right? There are butterflies all over this card of justice, which is about transformation as well. It's about trusting karma. It's about trusting that grace cycle. It's about being in surrender to your highest ideal, right? And remembering that when you're holding on to ideas too tightly, you're missing out on something. You're missing out on the release, right? You're attached to the idea. There is no new cycle. There is no justice. There is no transformation. There is no progress. What I do want to say about this particular new moon, as you create your intention, please do so in a very deeply intuitive manner, right? This is a very fluid, very, I'm going to use the word slippery to mean like wet and soapy kind of, okay, we're just going to let that be. In that kind of wet and soapy, here, now, gone, soap bubble sort of sense, because the full moon in Libra that happens in 2 weeks happens in opposition to an Aries conjunction of the Sun and Chiron and Venus. And that is going to feel very different. That's going to be about balancing your emotions with your wounds and with the way that you are going to create your life for health, for healing, right? There's a Saturn grand trine, or a grand air trine with Saturn at that time. And that next 2 weeks from now, that full moon is going to be really about coming into shape with what your future, your destiny is going to look like. So at this new moon, really just dive in intuitively to your heart, to your soul, to those places that might not make sense in language, but make perfect sense in symbol, right? Which is the most important. Wow. Right. The most important language that we have. I'm so sorry we're out of focus, guys. Hold on. Sorry, one's not really happening over here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, I like it. We don't have very good focus. I'm so sorry. Flexible. Well, that sounds about right to me. All right, let's consider. Flexible, teachability, open-mindedness, being adaptable without compromising what's most important. Well, yes, please. A tree's roots are solidly planted in the ground, yet its branches can bend in a hurricane. whereas a rigid structure, like a building, would come crashing down. Consider how the tree remains supple and secure when everything around it may be in shambles. This is how you must be now, willing to learn new things, teachable, malleable, yet firmly grounded in who you are. Common sense is important. So is an open mind. Stay curious, stay open, stay aware. At this time, others will be more flexible with you, too. Right? So we know that this energy is inherently flexible. Okie dokie. Right? Act accordingly. So, acting accordingly is about being in alignment and acting from that alignment, right? There's a whole lot of awareness, but until it's acted upon, it's pointless, right? It's that whole wisdom is knowledge plus experience, right? And this goes back to that whole concept of beauty in relation to, right? Glory in relation to, vision in relation to. You might have the concept deeply, intuitively, right? In senses of like real versus imagined, or here and not here, or tangible and intangible, or feeling and being, right? There's a difference in those things. And once you're aware of the difference, once you've grasped it, then you must act accordingly, right? It's never going to be enough to hold on for no purpose, right? There's no moving on. You have to let go to get that karmic justice, right? You have to accept the newness to find the joy. You have to look for the higher purpose in order to find those new ways of being resourced, tangible or intangible, right? Venus and Neptune, they are all about tangible and intangible. They are, in fact, the embodiment, right? Those energies are the embodiment of tangible and intangible. Yeah, very much so. So here's what I have to say. Keep in mind that right now, this is about a bifurcation, right? Are you feeling or are you thinking? Are you sensing or are you deciding, right? The deepest depths is where you're going to find your answers right now. It will not be in your head. In fact, in your head is where you're going to find the most conflict. Accepting that cycle, being flexible with it, and acting accordingly, right, is the thing that's going to bring you that joy long term. So dig into your imagination, right? This is where ideals, dreams, visions, all sorts of things like sensual, elegant, refined, fluid, moving, right? This is about your inner experience, perhaps not even an experience that you can elaborate on beyond your own inner experience, right? It might just be that place where you have to come up with your intentions as your feelings, right? How do I want to feel, right? Not what do I want to accomplish, not what are my goals, but how do I want to feel in my life? Like I said, this new moon is a perfect lead-in to the Libra full moon coming up. So right now, look into your cycles. What are you releasing? What are you learning right now about what you're experiencing? Where are your conflicts, right? What's holding you back from joy? And how do you make a decision to get there? Well, be flexible and then be willing to act accordingly. Yep. Blessed new moon, guys. Talk to you soon.